YouTube has changed. It's sometimes really hard to process the fact that this website used to be this website. These are the same thing, but the type of content that thrives here has gone all over the place. It makes sense though when you really think about it. It's been around for a minute at this point. On April 23rd, 2025, the first YouTube video to ever be released will turn 20 years old. That's 2 decades, and anything changes a lot in 2 decades, especially on the internet.
I've always found myself interested in the history of this website. I mean, for better or worse, I kinda grew up here. I was making videos on this site as young as 6 years old, and I've seen how much it's grown from an up-and-coming project that boasted free video hosting to literally one of the biggest networks of worldwide communication in all of human history.
YouTube in many ways changed the entertainment world forever. It brought the ability to share video content worldwide to pretty much anyone with a computer. And within a few years, there was a whole new pillar in the entertainment world that was not made in big budget studios by devoted professionals, but by random people in their bedroom with a camcorder. They weren't always adults either. Some of the biggest names weren't even old enough to drive. Yet here they were, giving network television a real run for their money. And with that whole internet network television connection being made, let's talk about the Fred movie.
Hi guys, so yes, I did that. And you would do it too for a check.
The idea to make this video hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to make next. And then suddenly I was reminded of the existence of the Fred character. And then I was reminded of this movie. And suddenly I was like, oh, this is juicy. This is juicy. And then I started writing.
There's a lot to really go over, given this movie does not have what I would call a positive reputation. And well, I think the fact that this movie even exists is fascinating in itself. Like, they made a Fred movie. That happened. This was an event that occurred. How in the world did this kid who made a random joke video with a pitch shifter end up starring in a feature film on one of the biggest children's entertainment networks? So here we are today, watching one of the most infamous big TV movies from my childhood. Fred the movie. The epic journey to find Judy. There she is. You may be skeptical about this movie based on its measly 2 out of 10 on IMDb, but you know what they say, 3's a crowd and 4 out of 10's just congested. Let's check it out. The comprehensive roast of Fred the movie. Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Hey, it's Switchy! I originally wanted to start this video out with this segment, but I realized that doing so would totally assault my fans' eardrums, and it would probably get them to click on this video, making it bomb because of the bad engagement. I don't want this video to bomb! I'm such a slave to algorithmic content generation! I need my ad revenue!
I think before we talk about Fred the movie, it's important to address the whole Fred phenomenon, or the Fred property. Character? The whole Fred thing. Fred, technically stylized with a backwards R, much like Korn or Toys R Us, was a fictional character originally created in 2006 by a 13-year-old Lucas Cruikshank. Fred was a young child with a characteristic pitched-up voice who made videos highlighting his life. Initially, it started as mostly talking head videos of the character randomly rambling about what's happening on that given day, but as time passed and the channel got more popular, the videos became more fast-paced and in-your-face with a comedy. It's kind of funny that I'm describing anything under the Fred moniker as not fast-paced, but if you watch Fred on Halloween and Fred Goes Swimming back to back, you'll see what I mean. Lucas Cruikshank came from the humblest of humble beginnings. He logged onto this fledgling site known as YouTube armed with only a camera, a few props, and the time warping feature on his video editor. And with that alone, he would within a couple of years become a viral sensation. The masses of this site adored the Fred videos, and he became one of the first ever YouTube celebrities.
Well, adored is a bit of an overstatement. Fred is a controversial figure. Not in like a politically sensitive way, just in a, you need to have a very specific type of humor and a bit of tolerance to find any pleasure in watching it way. And specifically today, having memories watching it when you were like 7 helps a lot too.
Lucas Cruikshank, even back in 2008, described Fred as a love or hate character. And it's not hard to see why. The voice and style of humor is a turnoff for a good portion of people, and even today a lot of his videos have less than universal praise in terms of their like to dislike ratios. Which is really ironic because in the iCarly episode where I and many other children first learned about him, he seemed to be adored by like everyone except for Freddy. Like, Freddy is the one guy who says he doesn't find it funny, and suddenly everyone hates him. He even got subtracted from the mathletes, despite the fact that he was their best long divider. Fred is just that beloved. Let's put the whole iCarly thing aside though, because that's a little bit later in the story. Lucas had developed a healthy audience over the first few years of YouTube's existence, but it was around mid to late 2008 when his channel really started to blossom. By April of 2009, he had become the first channel ever to reach the mythical 1 million subscribers. There were no play buttons back then, but still.
Nowadays, YouTube is so big, it feels like there's a new Minecraft Let's Player who goes from 0 to that number in a week. It's crazy how much bigger YouTube is now than it was back then.
I think it's really important to stress that in the matter of like 3 years, Lucas had gone from a random video he had made to literally the biggest person on YouTube. Bigger than Smosh, bigger than Ryan Higa, bigger than Ray William Johnson. That to me is just a baffling story. He's really one of the first true YouTube icons, and people like him kind of showed the world the power that YouTube had as a site and platform. I remember being obsessed with the pages YouTube kept dedicated to the most subscribed channels and most viewed videos and checking it habitually all the time. It was just really fun to see how Ryan Higa was doing against Smosh, for example. But then eventually the Vivo channels and late night TV shows kind of took the lists over, and it became less interesting to focus on, to me at least. Those damn Vivo channels and their custom video pages. Am I even pronouncing it right? I think it's Vivo, but for my entire life I've read that name and thought Vevo in my head. Whatever. The top spot slowly stopped being independent creators who had built their audience on YouTube and became just celebrities and corporate entities. And I think this played a part in these pages dedicated to the top performing content disappearing over time, along with the whole algorithm k-means regression tree cluster shit they started doing. Gotta maximize user engagement, I suppose. It's better to drive clicks by showing you the stuff the algorithm thinks you'd like. All these changes are also probably why they had to ditch the whole broadcast yourself sales pitch too, as YouTube was going from just a weird home video site to, well, an essential part of online communication to the masses.
Sorry about that old head tangent right there. It's just weird to think about, and I tend to find myself interested in this kind of stuff.
Admittedly, Fred's reign as the king of YouTube didn't last super long. Ryan Higa quickly flew by with his big bouncing inflatable green balls and ninja tutorials, while the Fred channel began to slow down in its growth. There were still some classic Fred videos being made on the channel, but slowly those stopped and were replaced with different types of content, often with a distinct lack of Fred. But a fascinating presence of Weezer. I might be passionate about early YouTube memes, but Rivers Cuomo definitely has me beat there. The channel has been dormant for the better half of a decade. That being said, although the channel didn't continue to make waves on YouTube, Fred was making some moves on network television. Lucas was contacted by Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon and offered to make a guest appearance on a little show called iCarly. And this pretty much started what I like to call Fred's reign of terror. When you think about it, having Fred on iCarly was a fantastic idea. Given that iCarly is about a fictional self-made teenage web celebrity, having a real-life self-made teenage web celebrity on the show was really fitting. The basic synopsis of the episode is that Freddy admits during an iCarly broadcast that he isn't a big fan of Fred's videos. And after that, Lucas Cruikshank makes a video in response announcing that he is quitting Splashface forever. I assume Splashface is just a Schneiderverse stand-in for YouTube. Because of this, the iCarly squad draws all sorts of hatred from the people around them, as they are just that upset about Fred not making videos anymore. Anyway, the conflict is resolved when Carly, Sam, and Freddy visit Lucas in real life in his video editing treehouse, where he apparently storyboards his Fred videos and edits them with a 5-monitor setup. Sure. He reveals that he was just trying to create online drama for publicity, and they all make up and collaborate with each other. It's kinda like when BH Ultra and I showed up in each other's Total Drama videos. Actually, the annoying orange Fred collab is a better example. Orange has a deep inner circle while Fred is trapped in a lonely world of his own creation. I am Fred. The iCarly episode was a huge success and a major peak for Fred's popularity, and because of that, it's safe to say that Nickelodeon took a big interest in Lucas Cruikshank as talent. So much of an interest, in fact, they decided to make a Fred feature film. Fred, the movie.
And critics didn't like it. They didn't like it at all. So, naturally, Viacom made a second one, and then a third one, along with a TV show, and then another one where he plays a different character. All in like 3 years.
I remember watching the first one and not being super into it. I watched it when it came out and would occasionally watch bits and pieces of it when they aired it on Nickelodeon. And oh boy, did they air it on Nickelodeon. But I remember they announced a second one, and even as like a 10-year-old, I was like, really? Really? It had only been like a year. And then they did a third one. Like, geez, slow down. Is this really that milkable? Cruikshank's final starring role with Nickelodeon was the TV show Marvin Marvin, a sitcom about a space alien who lives on Earth and has to pretend to be human. It lasted 1 season. Big Time Rush cameo though, that's cool, but it was more or less the final chapter of Fred's reign of terror.
There are 2 big reasons I want to review Fred the movie today. The first one is, well, it's infamous. The reception this film got, especially at release, was vitriolic. It has a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and in retrospect, it's always kind of funny to look back at films like that after the dust has settled. Although these movies did reach an audience, there were a lot of people who were very much not thrilled to see Fred on the big screen. It's a level of passionate hatred that calls to me as a video topic.
I think my interest in this movie's infamy does kind of blend in with my other reason. That Fred as a concept fascinates me. Not specifically the character itself. I mean, the videos are pretty straightforward. But I think Fred symbolizes an era of early YouTube and internet culture that is astonishingly different from what is going on today. I mean, the biggest channels we see in 2024 are these media conglomerates with huge teams that straight up min-max their content to get as much engagement, watch time, and revenue as possible. But back in 2009, it was this one kid making videos of him screaming at 125% speed. And over the next few years, we saw how that one kid's videos evolved into a multimedia franchise with several product sponsorships, an animated spin-off, 3 feature films, a TV show, and a bizarre arc involving an acquisition by a fictional Korean cereal company.
I think Fred the movie is a relic of a bygone era, a time when the biggest type of content on YouTube was sketch comedy, when basically every channel that made it big got sucked dry by a bunch of crappy multi-channel network contracts because, frankly, the whole thing was sort of a gold rush industry. Fred the movie, along with the rest of the whole Fred property, is a captivating case study to me about the growing pains of pre-2013 YouTube. To me, it's a fascinating point in history because it seemed like traditional Hollywood media wanted in on this whole YouTube thing, but didn't quite know how to approach it. It feels like the idea of an internet celebrity was still very new and kind of confusing to a lot of people, particularly the supes. And in my opinion, it's that head-scratching confusion that led to stuff like 3 feature films in 2 years, Korean serial advertisement publicity stunts, and Weezer collaborations. So come join me as we dive right into Fred the movie. Let's do it.
Alright, so the film starts out with a few production bumpers, and then it sets the stage for the main show really subtly.
Hi, it's Fred!
Okay, yeah, that was a total lie.
A lot of movies usually open up with some establishing shots without dialogue to give the audience a basic idea of the general setting and atmosphere, but not Fred. Fred cuts to the chase. You're gonna have to get used to that.
Today is Friday! Oh my god, say that fast, it sounds like Fred Day! Friday, Fred Day, Friday, Fred Day, Friday, Fred Day, Friday, Fred Day.
Are you still with me? I feel like some of you are already sick of him, and I can't entirely blame you. I suppose Fred doesn't always leave the most graceful first impression.
Oh my gosh, did they decide this weekend to make the weekends the week and the week with the weekends? That means we're gonna have 5 whole days off and only 2 days of school. And then when there's a really important holiday like President's Day, we only have 1 day of school. I think they might decide to do that this weekend.
Wait, why would you think that, Fred? This is purely a hypothetical we're talking about. What makes you think the entire school system would flip its schedule? There's nothing to suggest that. It looks to me that you're just imagining scenarios in your head, and for some reason assuming those scenarios are real and acting accordingly. You're letting your imagination rule your perception of things. That's unhealthy. Speaking of unhealthy, we get the typical establishing movie shots with a slight delay through a map of Fred's neighborhood and a few scenes of him stalking the girl of his dreams, Judy. He has her entire route home mapped out, and he keeps track of it in a notebook with a collage of her on the cover.
Ooh, stalkerlicious.
Some of the gags are weird though, like he pulls off a branch and lies down with it between his legs to hide, and then the branch gets stuck in his butt? Like, what was he trying to accomplish? He could have just lain down for the same effect.
You might not have been able to tell, but that girl I walked home with, that hacking awesome girl, that's Judy. Judy.
What was that iMovie-ass zoom right there? Some parts of this movie feel a lot more like a YouTube video than an actual film.
She's my girlfriend, obviously. This weekend, it's crucial in our relationship because, wait for it, get ready. I'm taking things to the next level with Judy, and she knows it too. We've been inseparable lately.
So I was thinking of having a party this weekend.
Yeah, we've been thinking about it.
But maybe I'll just have it next
Yeah,
weekend.
we aren't really
instead.
sure yet.
Shoot. I mean, that's kind of real. Not the mapping out the route someone takes home from school in their product placement headphones, but like the whole being ignored by someone you'd like to know better. I think we've all been Fred in this situation. Fred seems to seriously fly under the radar at his school. It's kind of hitting me. I feel bad for him. Except for the stalking thing. Also, it's worth noting now that Fred in this movie is supposed to be 15 years old, which is interesting to me. Nickelodeon seemed to take a bit of license with the whole character.
They also replaced his classic t-shirt with a striped shirt suspenders combo, which sort of defeats the purpose of this shirt I got made.
I guess it sort of makes sense that they chose to age the character up. Like, maybe a teenager calling himself a 6-year-old in his solo comedy sketches works on YouTube, but how would it work if he was that age in the movie? Would all of his classmates be portrayed by other teenagers, or would they just be kids? I mean, Lucas Cruikshank was pretty locked into the Fred character at that point, until the whole cereal company arc on his channel. That was so weird.
The more I think about it, the more I'm surprised they were willing to even associate with the Fred brand. Like, there's a lot of adult themes in the whole thing.
It's made pretty evident in the original videos that Fred comes from a really broken family. His mother is a neglectful, abusive alcoholic, and his dad abandoned him while he was in the womb and is currently in prison on death row. He's usually just locked in his own house alone when he records his video. This is a poor, lonely 6-year-old with no friends. It's, like, sort of really depressing. I don't really know how much of that canon is supposed to carry over to the movie, to be honest. I mean, his mother in the movie looks and acts like an alcoholic, but I think this is kind of a Hey Arnold smoothie situation. There's certainly no direct mention of alcohol here, and I don't think Nickelodeon allows that kind of thing. But, you know, she certainly acts hungover for the whole movie. I don't say this to be whiny, but the fact that Fred wasn't as family friendly as I assumed caught me off guard as a kid. I went to his YouTube channel expecting more Nickelodeon level content, but then I was bombarded by humor that was much more twisted than I expected. There was a series of animated shorts which certainly would not have passed the kind of censors that Nickelodeon had. It's not like super bad or anything, but there were a few instances that kind of freaked me out. Like in one episode, Kevin falls into a wood chipper and has both of his arms torn off. That sort of gave me chills. But then again, I was a little wuss when I was in elementary school.
I'm thinking I might have Judy over today. I'm not really sure. I mean, my mom won't mind. I have friends over all the time and she never cares. My dad doesn't care either. Mostly because, he's not here. He's not with us. He's not dead. He's just not here.
Can tell you might have misunderstood that.
Every room in my house was constructed for a specific purpose. For instance, this room, my bedroom, was constructed to have a perfect view of Judy's house. Hi, Judy.
Seriously, what is that zoom? That's like something you would see used ironically in a 2015 Filthy Frank video.
Today was the worst Friday ever!
Fred, strafe left. What are you doing? Just run. If you run, you can eventually get better shelter than your own arm. You know, so far this movie feels a lot like a YouTube video. Specifically an early 10s big YouTube channel video. Beyond the iMovie bilinear JPEG pans, so many of the gags are incredibly sudden and random that I can't help but be reminded of the old sketch comedy channels that were big at the time this movie was made. Like, you can tell there was a budget, but not like a big one. That green screen just screams 2010 YouTuber. Seriously, and with the whole Southern California neighborhood setting, it straight up just feels like a really long Smosh video. Amidst all the random gags, we learn that Fred has felt some friction in his imaginary relationship with Judy. Earlier that day at school, in what I assume is like a vocal ensemble class, Kevin and Judy shared an intimate duet together. Fred was not pleased. It was like Sierra seeing Cody and Heather cuddling. Ooh, my total drama fans are gonna love that simile. He devises a plan to tell Judy that she and Kevin sounded awful together, and fantasizes about that happening by Kitty poolside while Kevin gets arrested for singing so badly. He goes to his backyard to blow up the pool, and we meet Bertha for the first time. Played by Jeanette McCurdy, in this movie at least. She didn't reprise her role in the second and third movies, and the character was recast with the actress for Trina from Victorious. Bertha is actually based on a character from the videos, but I'm guessing you might not know that because she only appeared in one video and doesn't really have anything to do with the Bertha here. The Bertha here just seems to be like another oddball character. I guess she's like punk or something. It's hard to really box her into a straightforward archetype. Like, her outfit puzzles me. It's like a Melanie Martinez fit 3 years before Melanie Martinez was a thing. It feels like they're trying to capture something with her wardrobe, but I just can't tell what it is. Bertha tells Fred that if he tries to show Judy his kiddie pool, she will laugh at him, and that causes him to panic.
Oh my god, that was almost so embarrassing. Thank God I didn't invite Judy over for the pool party. Sometimes I don't think I know anything about women. I need some advice. Wish my dad was here. Dad, what do you think I should do?
And his name is John Cena!
Yeah, John Cena is in this movie. So, for those of you who thought that may have just been some weird fever dream, nope, John Cena is in this movie.
The secret is ruthless aggression.
It is?
You gotta look at yourself and say, my time is now! Show what kind of man you really are. What are your talents, Fred?
I'm a good singer.
No!
Ow!
You're a great singer. You're the best! It is you who take mere words and make them melodious love!
Yeah, so, John Cena is in this movie. Fred finally decides to go to Judy's house to sing with her.
This is a bit of a weird complaint, but in terms of plot, this film feels really padded. I suppose there have been a lot of unique gags, but right now it feels like he's hatched a plan to sing with Judy like 3 times. I guess it's not a big deal because the real content of the movie so far is just assorted skits, but I'm having a bit of a hard time relaying the plot to you because without the flashbacks and various singing fantasies, not much has happened so far. He probably could have come to the conclusion to try and sing with Judy immediately after recounting the vocal ensemble class story, and we would have saved like 5 minutes. Then again, that would be 5 minutes less of Fred screaming and John Cena, so I guess I get why they made this decision.
Right before Fred leaves his house to visit Judy, he sees Kevin hanging out in his driveway. Apparently, it's a real wrench in his plan even though she lives right next door. The fact that they all live on the same exact cul-de-sac is really funny to me for some reason.
Hey, Fiddle-on, where are you going? Huh?
None of your business, Kevin.
Oh, okay, what are you going to Judy's house for a little play date, huh? Are you guys gonna do
I'm kind of like loving this Kevin character. It's hard to eloquently explain why, but what I think is killing me is the fact that even though he's supposed to be like the popular bully kid, he's basically just as dumb and childish as Fred.
Dude, she hates you, man. Why can't you just get that through your head, dude? She hates you. She tells me all the time. I mean, like, she came over yesterday and, like, you know?
She hates you, Kevin.
She doesn't hate me. We're on a first name basis.
Yeah, she hates everyone who can't sing, Kevin.
I can sing.
Kevin chases Fred back into his house. Right when Fred enters, he starts feeling Kevin try to force himself through the door and starts panicking. It turns out it's just his mom. Fred gives up on trying to see Judy until John Cena comes back and gives him basically the same exact pep talk.
For some reason, I misremembered John Cena only appearing once in this movie, but he shows up multiple times. If we're being honest, I think the reason I misremembered is that a lot of this movie kind of blends together. A lot of the story beats essentially happen over and over.
Fred tries to go to Judy's house but fails and gets discouraged. He then gets a pep talk by his imaginary dad played by John Cena. So he tries to go to Judy's house again and fails and gets discouraged. And he gets a pep talk from John Cena. Of course, the space is filled with various gags and tangents, but especially when trying to recount this film in memory, a lot of it blurs together just because of the fact that these scenes don't serve much consequence. This time around, Fred wants to go over the wall separating his and Judy's houses.
Once I get over that wall, I can go up to Judy's back door and ask her to come over. I never have seen Judy's back door, but I bet it's really nice.
I can't believe they let that get past the censors.
For those of you who don't get the joke, the back door is a metaphor for the anus.
Our hero initially tries to jump over the wall with a trampoline, but fails to do so. Instead, he tries to dig underground, and actually makes some decent progress. He even accidentally cuts the power to Kevin's house, and Kevin falls off his treadmill.
I'm coming, Judy. I have buttloads of energy. I'm here. Oh my damn it, I dug all the way to China.
So once again, Fred finds himself back in his house. His next plan is to use an invisibility cloak that apparently works. He goes outside and scares the crap out of Kevin, except he didn't because that was all just a fantasy.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it.
Initially, it's a bit hard to tell, although I guess you can pick up on some of the context clues, like Kevin still being outside even though he just hurt his arm on the treadmill a few minutes ago. You may have realized that if you're a little movie detective, an analytical mind, one of our loyal theorists. The cloak was a wash, so instead Fred just wears his mom's clothing outside, I guess. He makes it to the door, but Kevin quickly catches on.
Is that Fred? I'm gonna get you.
Oh my damn it, Asian people kidnapped Judy! What do? I gotta call the police and the cops and the FBI, the CIA and the FBI, and I never had an emergency before. I don't know who to call. I don't even know what number to call. Somebody call 911. That's who I have to call.
911. What's your emergency?
Hello, this is Fred Ficklehorn. And I'm here to tell you that my girlfriend Judy has been kidnapped by Asian people. Asian people have stolen my girlfriend and her stuff and her family.
Wow, I'm surprised that's something they were allowed to put in the script. It's not like it's that offensive, really, but I sort of thought that overt racial humor on Nickelodeon wasn't really a thing at this point in time. I feel like characters would basically never point out race, but maybe I'm misremembering. It's not like Fred saying that Asian people kidnapped Judy is really even that offensive or anything, but I'm just surprised that it was a joke they even put in. That's not to say that there was never any race-specific archetype characters on the channel. There absolutely were, but it seemed that race was something that would never be said out loud. I don't know. I haven't actively watched Nickelodeon in like a decade.
Mom! Mom, wake up! Wake up right now!
I am up.
Mom? Judy's been kidnapped. And they took all of her stuff. She might be dead. I don't even know.
What are you talking about?
Her house. It's completely empty.
Maybe that's because they moved.
Judy moved? Where to? Why didn't you tell me?
Because, Freddie,
Jeez. Say what you want about Fred the character, but Lucas was definitely bringing his A game. Night strikes the Ficklehorn abode, and we see Fred struggling to fall asleep in bed, until suddenly John Cena picks him up in the middle of the night and takes him on a perilous journey to save Judy. Also, his mom is up on the top filling the entire neighborhood with lead.
Dad, what's wrong?
It's Judy. She's been kidnapped. By kidnappers.
Kidnappers?
Luckily, in the final minutes, she sent us a transmission.
Oh, Fred.
Judy!
There's so much that I wanted to say to you, or sing to you, or sing with you. That's all I've ever wanted. You've always known that to be true, right?
Okay, Judy, listen carefully.
Yes, Fred?
You are under a bed right now.
It turns out the whole military light utility vehicle taken parody thing was just a dream, and Fred wakes up in his bed. However, he's convinced the dream holds a deeper meaning.
I got it! Judy wants me to come find her. We have a psychic connection, and the dream is the only way she could possibly communicate with me.
Okay then, I guess this movie is literally just the happy arc of Earthbound. Paula was kidnapped by the cult, and Ness had to save her, and Judy was kidnapped by her parents, and now Fred has to save her. I mean, shoot, they even gave him the striped shirt in this movie. To prepare for the epic journey to save Judy, by going to her house, Fred goes on the computer to pull her new address up.
Ooh, it's nice, jeez. If I zoom in, I wonder if I can see her. Zoom, zoom. No! That must be the guy who lived there before her. Oh, that is sick. He pooped inside her bathroom. The ghost of that guy's poops will be inside Judy's bathroom forever.
That line is played for laughs, but if I'm being honest, this is the exact logic behind my refusal to use public bathrooms. So basically, what I'm saying is that I'm just about as neurotic and delusional as Fred is. Fred begins to strategize his plan to go to Judy's house, and initially he thinks about having to go through the woods. However, for Fred, that's a non-starter, because apparently when he was little, he was playing with his friend Evan Weiss, and Evan went into the woods and never returned.
That's kind of dark. Wow. Poor Evan Weiss.
He peed himself too when it happened, because that's funny. Fred finds a bus that can take him to Judy's place and starts to pack quite heavy because he doesn't actually know how long it'll take him to get there. I mean, shoot, I know public transport in America isn't great and everything, Fred, but she lives just a few blocks away. Amidst packing, we get a random skit of Fred getting squirted with ketchup. It doesn't really make that much sense because there's basically no setup, but I guess it's just a fake blood kind of thing. He steals some of his mom's money and he's off to the races. Dude, close your door. Close your door. Close your door!
Hey, Bighorn, where are you going?
None of your business, Kevin.
Oh, were you going to a butt-face convention, huh?
What happened to your arm, Kevin? Did you make a fake cast so everyone would feel sorry for you?
No, it's not fake. Actually, some guys tried to steal my bike and I beat them up. It doesn't even matter because 5 girls already signed it, so...
Why'd they all use the same pen?
Because girls like the color red.
I can't believe it. I'm actually finding this scene funny. No ifs, ands, or buts. Kevin cracks me up.
Kevin continues to harass Fred while I continue to enjoy it, and eventually the bus arrives.
Buck and a half. Come on, kid, I got a schedule to keep here.
Dude, I literally just said, That was like an involuntary response. It's been a second since I walked on the bus.
Man, at least Wen's teacher gave him like 5 or 6 seconds of shuffling through his papers before getting all snide and impatient.
I think I'll sit back here. Uh-oh, I'm supposed to be on the number 7 bus.
This is the number 6 bus. This is the number 6 bus?
I know, but if Kevin knew all the bus routes and where they were going, then if I got on the right bus, he would know where I was actually going. So by getting on the wrong bus, he would never know I was actually going to Judy's house. I'm Fred Bighorn.
Derf.
Sexy beast. Cum beast. He canonically has a monster dong. Glag, most of the people here think the same. So far we have the original internet Fred, movie Fred, young movie Fred, animated Fred, Lucas within the Fred canon, and now Derf, the reverse alter ego Fred. I mean, crap, feels like everyone is Fred. Maybe I'm Fred. Are there any other Freds I should know about?
Meow.
Derf just looks like the kind of guy who would ask to play her guitar and then play the intro riff to Master of Puppets and then confusingly strum some power chords and then give it back to you. For real. Especially with how clean his jacket is. That is not a battle-scarred touring jacket. He's a day one 80s metalhead. Anyway, he seems to be like an imaginary foil Fred has in his head that basically snaps him back to reality. He tempers Fred's delusions and acts as an imaginary voice of reason, I guess. Like when Ghost Harry just started following Dexter around in season 3 of Dexter, pretty much entirely replacing the hilarious early season internal monologues. I kind of like, though, how it's not easy to tell whether Derf even likes Fred or not. He seems kind of chill around Fred at some points, but when Fred starts talking extensively about Judy, he acts like he wants to go deaf.
End of the line.
Huh?
End of the line.
You're gonna kill us!
No, it means you gotta get off.
Oh. Well, it was nice meeting you. Derf? Derf? Huh. That's odd.
Honestly, because this movie's sense of reality and imagination is so fluid, I'm genuinely curious now if the other individuals on the bus saw him talking to an empty seat while he was seeing Derf there. Just how okay is Fred really? Fred's bus arrives at a local aquatic center with a slide he really wants to get on, and he sees Bertha chilling out on the imported sand.
You're not wearing a swimsuit.
This is my swimming suit. I mean, sometimes I just don't like showing my body too much because, you know, too much sex appeal.
Oh, he's so me-coded. That's the exact kind of answer I would give.
Before you go, do you want to try something cool? Pretty fun, isn't it?
It's really fun. My neck is hot, but my feet are cold.
Anyway, Bertha buries Fred in the sand for no reason, basically, other than to justify the movie cover, and we get another couple of comedy bits that don't really do much in the way of the plot. Fred chills out in the sand for a bit and then hallucinates a nightmare scenario in which Judy is drowning in the crowded pool. Kevin comes to rescue her by going down the slide and pulling her out of the water, and then they start singing together. And holy hell, Fred really imagined the worst lifeguard in the world. One of the most important things they tell you when training to be a lifeguard is how dangerous drowning people are. It's not uncommon for an untrained individual to drown themselves when trying to save someone else in the water. There's a good chance that that lifeguard would have had to save both Kevin and Judy from drowning. Hypothetically, because this lifeguard is just a figment of Fred's imagination. Anyway, Fred snaps out of his delusion, now covered in sand, and the whole pace of the movie kind of changes for a bit. We basically get a few snapshots of Fred making his way around town and getting into all sorts of varied antics with the neighborhood residents. And there's a good amount of cameo flexing for this part of the movie. He first goes to the laundromat and takes off all his clothes save for his boxers, and, yeah. A bit uncomfortable to talk about, probably more uncomfortable to film. Funnily enough, I'm pretty sure Lucas Cruikshank said in a video that this is the first thing they actually filmed for the movie, which sounds weird initially, but it was probably a good way to break the ice, I guess.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh.
No.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh my god, is that Stevie's dad from Malcolm in the Middle? He instead goes to the car wash for some physical comedy, and he comes out with a swanky new hairdo and newfound admiration from the workers there.
It's about to get frightening, cause I'm out with no license. She give me that beep, beep. I give her that hot, hot. She give me that beep, 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 beep.
This movie really is a time capsule.
My personal favorite sequence, by far, is the pet store sequence, in which Fred mistakes a bunch of small dogs for squirrels, and oh my gosh, I love it so much. The character of Gary is literally just iconic. I'm sorry, he is.
Yes, young man.
Oh, hey, I was just looking at the squirrels.
We don't have squirrels. You might want to go to a park or outside.
I saw the squirrels and I just thought they'd be the perfect present for Judy, so.
Like, I don't know her and I don't care to know her. We can't help you, but presents are nice. I enjoy them.
And usually I'm not the type of guy to say stuff like this, but I so headcanon these characters as a gay couple. And it's not just because the character of Oscar in The Office is gay. Like, there's a chemistry here that had to have been intentional. No characters are this fruity by accident.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
By squirrels, do you mean this?
Yep, how much are they?
$7.95.
Okay.
Lorenzo, can you ring us up $795?
$795? That's how much my mom makes a year.
That's a good-ass house you have for a single mother family on 3 digits, Fred. Shoot, what is this, 1940?
Never mind, Lorenzo, he's broke.
Despite the fact that Fred can't afford to buy any Pomeranians, squirrels, he tries to steal one. He's not particularly discreet about it. In the pet store, co-workers start freaking out.
Put the dog down.
Dog?
Squirrel.
I don't have a dog, you psycho.
Oh my God, Gary! He's a gangbanger! This is Mace! I will spray you.
No!
I will spray you in the eyes! Lorenzo, what are you doing with Mace? Someone has to protect us.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to anger the gay community, but come on, there's something going on there.
Put the dog back.
I would do it.
I don't have a dog!
Lady, clear out! Put the dog back!
Spray him, he's got crazy in his eyes.
Stop. Put the dog back.
Alone.
Put the dog back!
Spray him!
Just spray him!
This is worse than when you made me stay at the Marriott!
Fred runs into a Spanish-speaking gentleman and freaks out because he doesn't understand the language. His immediate conclusion is that the Spanish speaker is a space alien trying to rewire his brain.
Okay.
And he begins running around screaming because he's Fred. You know, he runs around and screams a lot. I do kind of like how it starts out with real shots of him running, and then suddenly he's running on a green screen over roller coaster footage. Like, that kind of humor is exactly what I grew up with. In fact, I think in some of my older videos, you can see basically the same joke being made, and I'm unsure if it was inspired by this movie or not. There's a good chance that it was subconsciously, if we're being honest.
Damn.
Damn indeedy.
Oh.
Hey, watch that cussing. I'm just playing. It's a damn. It's what it is.
It's really interesting to me how much this movie's pacing has changed in the past, like, 10 minutes. I guess it's because so much of the first act was just Fred on his own, and now we're seeing him go all over the place bantering with random locals scattered around. Anyway, the dam security guard tells Fred that the number 7 bus is on the other side of the dam past the woods, and Fred begins to freak out. After all, he's been terrified of the woods ever since his friend Evan disappeared there all those years ago.
Oh, but if you're scared, I tell you what you can do. You can just turn around and you just go home, be home with Mama.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Mama?
Mama?
Mama.
Mama?
Mama? Mama Luigi?
Know what I'd do if I were you? I'd man up. I'd face my fears. I'd BS. I'd be somebody. That's me. Who are you?
You're right. You're definitely right. I should go through the woods.
There you go.
Judy needs me right now.
Do it for Judy.
It's just the woods.
It's just the woods?
No big deal.
Go on.
I'm gonna do it.
Run to Judy. Run to her.
The random security guy gives Fred the bravery to take on the scary, scary woods, and he marches straight into the forest with newfound vigor. Well, actually, he goes in, then runs out, and then tries again, but, you know, whatever. It's not always easy the first time. In the forest, he comes across a deer who talks for some reason. Yeah. At first, Fred is terrified, but they decide to drop some tunes together, and Fred begins to reassess his fear of the woods, and begins to appreciate it for its natural beauty. That is, until he is approached by a familiar figure.
Fred! It's me! Evan Weiss! I got it!
Got what?
The ball! I got the ball!
Okay then, you know, to be fair, I think this is a funny payoff to the whole bit from earlier in the movie, but it's got me wondering, did this canonically happen in the movie, or was the whole Evan Weiss talking deer thing just another hallucination? I mean, think about it. So much of this movie so far is Fred just imagining scenarios in his own head. And so far, pretty much everything paranormal has seemed to be a fantasy. So could there have really been talking deer here? And did he really see his childhood friend who had been living in the woods for over half a decade? I mean, we get a visual of the woods from a map in the movie, and it's big, but not that big. It seems like the square footage of a medium-sized park. The idea of being lost in there for so long seems really far-fetched.
Wow, it's so surreal. I can't tell fiction from reality in the Fred movie. It's so experimental. I'm getting more questions than answers. This really is cinema. It's cinema, folks.
Fred finally makes it to the number 7 bus and sets up camp while waiting for it. Damn, this movie really loves taking potshots at American public transport. While he waits for the bus, Kevin coincidentally passes by in Flo from Progressive's car and convinces her to keep driving around the block so he can make circles taunting Fred. Which sort of implies that the perimeter of this whole scary forest is like a 2-minute drive around.
Hey, nice lean-to. One more.
Kevin, no, I am drawing the line.
I'm gonna tell Dad.
Don't tell him.
Whoa, sounds like a messy ex-husband situation.
I do kind of love how often this movie makes fun of its own sense of scale. It so often contrasts this idea of Fred going on a huge adventure far from home with the fact that he's literally just walking to a bus station, and they show that by seeing his next door neighbor incidentally running into him while his mom is running errands. It's cute to me. Anyway, Fred eats some sardines straight from the can for some food gross out humor, and then Durf reappears. Fred asks Durf to wake him up when the bus shows up, and Durf acts a bit nonchalant about it at first, but actually comes in clutch when the bus arrives. On the bus, a lady is looking to find an owner for a stray squirrel she had found, and Fred jumps at the opportunity.
Me and Judy will be your new parents, and we'll love you forever.
It's giving Sierra with Cody Jr. Wow, we're finally here. Judy's house. It may look pretty on the outside, but Judy is not enjoying herself on the inside.
Hello, miss.
Who are you? Fred!
It's me.
I knew you'd come for me. You got my psychic message.
Yeah, I sure did. Sadly, now I can't use my bike item anymore since you've joined my party, and for some reason they put you at level 1 despite this being a few hours into the game. At least we have some nearby starter enemies to grind on.
Fred and Judy finally get reunited and act out their dream of singing together. And it turns out it was all just a fantasy. Fred gets woken up by the number 7 bus driver before it leaves and barely makes it. So Durf didn't actually stick to his side of the deal. Jerk. You can't even trust yourself in this town. Fred finally arrives at Judy's house, and instead of his one true love, he finds a bunch of his classmates having a party, including Kevin.
Oh my god! Guys! It's Fred!
What a bizarre reaction. Like, what emotion even is that?
What are you doing here, Fred?
I think I could ask you the same question, Kevin.
No, you can't, because I was invited and you weren't. So get out, dude!
Fred walks right into a classic case of teenage bullying and gets clowned on by all of the partygoers. He is clearly not the most well-liked kid in his grade. Eventually, Judy shows up, dumbfounded at Fred crashing the whole thing, and she tries to get him to leave subtly at first. Which is surprising, for as creepy as he is, she seems somewhat sympathetic to him in a way that she certainly wasn't in the original web series.
Maybe you shouldn't be here. Me? You're right. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Because, no offense to you, Judy, but this party is so lame.
This isn't lame. This is a good party.
I'm impressed that the whole bunch took Fred's insult that seriously. There was like, the hush there.
Judy keeps trying to subtly shoo Fred out until Kevin escalates the whole situation by shoving a pizza onto Fred's chest. And that somehow causes Fred to projectile vomit onto the floor and then onto Judy. Wow. I mean, crap. Fred literally got Judy to do the wait, don't go move. That's like Cinderella fairy tale tier desire. He got Judy to try and find him as he disappeared into the night. That's Riz.
Hey kid, you lost or something?
Kinda.
Where you going?
Home.
All right, my shift's over. Get in, I'll take you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Pays to tip.
Is it wrong that I found that scene sort of heartwarming? Like, I think I'm going crazy, but I found that kind of heartwarming. This is the kind of shit that doing nothing but watching Fred videos for 3 months will do to you.
The vibe kind of dies when he licks the pizza on his shirt, though. Also, wow, nice Joker lighting. Fred arrives at home after a long day traveling like 3 blocks and starts screaming to the audience about how Judy broke his stone cold heart and how he's never gonna find love and how the top 80% of girls only date the top 20% of guys and his mom tells him to shut up. She also lets him know that one of his classmates uploaded a video of him vomiting on Judy to YouTube. Best Party Ever by Kev Smell My Fart. What a tool! I gotta give this movie credit where credit is due. This is a surprisingly good movie depiction of YouTube. As a kid, I was always super frustrated whenever characters in TV shows or movies use the internet because they so often depicted websites awfully, but this looks pretty good. Well, except for the inconsistent playhead position. That bothers me. But you guys know me, I don't play about fictional web pages and movies. I'm a stickler.
Oh my damn it, this is so embarrassing! 47 people have seen this already? That's more than my entire class! 51 people now, 51! Gosh, why do people even watch other people on YouTube? It's weird, it's creepy. I don't get it, I just don't.
Amen to that, brother. This site sucks. No wonder everyone's frickin' leaving.
Oh my gosh, another person just watched it! And another! Oh my gosh, in 60 seconds, 60 people will have seen this!
Okay, wait, that's like actually funny. I actually found that funny. Technically, I don't think it's accurate because I'm pretty sure even back then, YouTube view counts wouldn't update that quickly or cleanly. But I'm just a nerd loser with no friends who's bizarrely passionate about this website's history, and frankly, I should stop cleaning onto it because literally no one cares.
Well, I'm not gonna stand for this. No. I'm gonna have a party, and no one's gonna be invited.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Miss Lebo. Is Kevin here?
Oh, he is. Come on in. Kevin, your friend is here.
Mom, I'm in the crapper.
Kevin.
Where's the toilet paper?
Ew! You guys know what that means, right? He's in the crapper and then he leaves fully dressed asking for toilet paper. That's disgusting. Kev, smell my fart? Yeah, we're probably smelling a lot more than just your farts. Ugh.
Kevin, I'm effing a party tonight. That's why I came over.
See, Kevin?
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, there's gonna be lots of games and food and music, and we're gonna do a lot of illegal stuff. Kids our age can't do it, but we're gonna do it anyway.
What?
It's gonna be great.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
All right.
Yeah.
What is this?
Your disinvitation. I'm having a party and you can't come.
I'm trying to get it.
I have to go right now because there's a lot of other people I have to disinvite to my party.
Oh, what a sweet kid.
We see a few shots of Fred just going to random people he knows and giving them their disinvitations. And it's great. It's such a good time.
Oh, it looks like you got my message that you're not invited to my party! Sucker!
The montage closes when Fred goes to Bertha's house and gives her a disinvitation. However, she catches his attention when she tells him she didn't find the video of him funny and she wasn't invited to Judy's party either. Fred doesn't believe her at first, but changes his mind and decides to invite her to his party at the last minute. So this is where the movie's pacing kinda reins itself in. Fred and Bertha start collecting a myriad of clothes, sheets, and wigs to throw a party for some reason. But what they really mean by party is using a plethora of practical effects to create the illusion of a party.
That's good. That's really good.
That entails doing stuff like filming themselves dancing in low light with a bunch of different outfits and making cardboard cutouts to create silhouettes. It's a fun montage and, dare I say, pretty creative. I mean, I love this kind of stuff. I'm a bit of a practical effects nerd, so seeing them do all these crazy stunts is entertaining. It's an elaborate hoax to get back at all his classmates for making fun of him by giving them a sense of FOMO. Fred had the coolest party ever, and they weren't cool enough to come. Ouch. They've got the coolest DJ ever, and she's playing some hits from the Sugar Hill Gang. Sweet. Fred pulls an all-nighter video editing, oh my god, he's literally me, and finally finishes a cut of his party video. Right after finishing though, he starts getting cold feet about going through with the whole thing. He really is indecisive until he accidentally presses the enter key with his forehead, and he uploads the video to the internet. And almost immediately after our party setup montage, we get another montage of the party Fred and Bertha put on. And wow, they did a really good job. They really sold this image of some crazy late night house party. They got the whole town together. I mean, shit, even Cruikshank showed up. And some guy wearing stereotypical Rastafari clothing. Whose wardrobe did that come from? What?
I have to put my serious hat on for one thing, though. Because it's time to give some serious criticism. Because, to be honest, I like this whole scene a lot. It's easily the most visually creative part of the movie, and it looks like it was a lot of fun to film both canonically and behind the scenes. But oh my gosh, it is way longer than it needs to be.
The whole sequence goes on for like 5 straight minutes. That's kind of a long amount of time when you're watching a movie, especially because the whole point of the scene can basically come across in seconds. Fred and Bertha threw a fake party where they pretended to do drugs and play naughty games. You pretty much get the whole picture in the first minute and are just sort of waiting the rest of the 5 minutes for the next thing to happen. It tested my patience a bit. And trust me, it's not that I don't like seeing gags like Fred plays spin the bottle with his mom. I just don't really think the visual gags shown during the whole montage really justify the amount of runtime they fill. Especially when you add the amount of time spent on this montage with the time spent on the party prep montage. You've basically spent the majority of the last 10 minutes watching montages. And the montages are still sort of fun, I guess, but like still, it's a bit much.
The silver lining, though, is that the payoff is hilarious to me.
I wanted to make it to Fred's party, but my girl didn't want to go. I like the party. She don't like the party. I like to break it down.
Oh, it was an epic fail of me not to go to Fred's. I mean, I wasn't invited, but I'm sure it's because I wasn't around when he was inviting people.
I would totally go out with Fred, but Judy's like my best friend, and I would never do that to her.
Basically, everyone in the school saw Fred's video over the weekend and had serious regret not going. Many of them lie about having been there. Many of them lie about being invited but having other plans. But not a single person doesn't care that they didn't go. The same people who were making fun of him a few nights ago were now saying they totally date him. The video even debatably made projectile vomiting fashionable.
I don't care that I wasn't invited to Fred's party. You know, I don't care at all. I don't. I really don't. I don't know why everyone's asking me that. 'Cause, like, you know,
Who's there?
So the moral of the story is this. If people look down on you, use social media to create a false narrative surrounding yourself living a super cool and awesome exciting life to make them feel bad about their own mundane realities. Your critics will check Instagram at 8 p.m. alone on a Friday night and see you rocking out with all the people in town, and they'll feel like human garbage.
After all, if you're so funny, then why are you on your own tonight? And if you're so very clever, then why are you on your own tonight? Kevin.
The fact that now Fred has so many admirers that his classmates are dressing up as him is a funny touch as well. Fred skips school the Monday after the weekend because he's faking being hungover or something. Fred's mom wakes up and compliments him for his partying skills and looks over his shoulder on the computer. Fred, for whatever reason, zooms in on the pooping guy from earlier, and Fred's mom recognizes him.
It's Danny Janetti.
Ew! How do you know him?
We had a date once.
When was that?
That was about, I don't know, 15 years ago.
I'm 15.
Oh, okay, wow. Weird bomb to drop right at the end there.
Also, John Cena shows up for like 2 seconds. The movie wraps up with Judy coming over to Fred's house to check on him, and despite his long history of stalking and harassment, she actually apologizes to him for not inviting him to her party. Damn, those dinosaur pajamas really do rizz the ladies up.
So can I come in?
Like into my house?
I just thought we could hang out.
And do what?
I don't know. I thought we could sing together.
Sing? Me and you like together? Singing? Just hold on 1 second, okay?
Sure.
Oh yeah, dude, rock on.
Won't you come in?
Thank you.
And roll credits. Yeah, the Fred movie. 0% from Rotten Tomatoes, 2 out of 10 on IMDb.
Drop dead, Fred! At times, the film is unwatchably annoying. It's like a bad dream you keep hoping will stop. Judy was hot!
Alright, folks, we've been through the trenches. And now that we're out, can we all agree that this movie was an underrated masterpiece? Okay, but seriously, am I surprised that this movie has, well, this reputation? No, not at all. Do I personally dislike it that much? Not really. I mean, it's hard for me to really feel that strongly about it. In fact, there are some things here that I find endearing.
At its surface, Fred the movie might seem like a confused attempt at cashing in on a teenager's internet fame that didn't really amount to much more than a gimmick. But if you look deeper, you'll see that it is, in fact, a confused attempt at cashing in on a teenager's internet fame that didn't really amount to much more than a gimmick. It's a simple story dressed in random skits and gags, and most of them are things I can take or leave. If I wasn't laughing, I was just unimpressed and a bit bored. But if you're the kind of person who doesn't have as much tolerance as I do for Fred's iconic scream, well, you probably won't be as patient with the film as I was.
And that's valid, frankly. I mean, that kind of humor isn't exactly going to be a winner for everyone.
To be fair though, there were some bits of comedy that I genuinely found enjoyable. A lot of the supporting cast played off Fred in a really funny way. Like, I thought Kevin was hilarious. You might have expected him to be a typical bully jock character, but he's written like a bastardized parody of the concept. And honestly, it makes for one of my favorite presences throughout the film. His incredibly childish rivalry with Fred is a consistent source of entertainment, especially when his mom is thrown into the mix. Although Judy isn't really meant to be a comedy character, I think Pixie Lott brings a lot of life to her head in the Cloud's personality, and the awkward back and forth she has with Fred is deliciously uncomfortable. And there's of course the gay, not gay pet shop workers. They slayed. Ironically, the comedy that I think worked on me the least is that regarding the titular character. Most of the solo scenes involving Fred in this movie don't do much for me, despite them being the closest this movie gets in presentation to the original YouTube videos. I think there was a comedic timing to the online videos that didn't carry over to the movie. Partially because they slightly sanitized the whole thing to be on Nickelodeon, I guess, but there's an energy internet Fred has that they didn't really translate to the full film save for maybe the first few minutes. Honestly, a big part of it might just be that most of the footage isn't even sped up here. I'm not even totally sure if they pitched up Lucas's voice. If they did, it wasn't by nearly as much as the YouTube videos. At most, they did it by just 3 or 4 semitones.
If you're wondering why I'm acting rather extraordinary right now, it's because I haven't taken my pill. Don't tell my mom that I've lost my pills.
Oh my gosh, did they decide this weekend to make the weekends the week and the week with the weekend? That means we're gonna have 5 whole days off and only 2 days of school!
Talk about a cheap facsimile, a second-rate imitation, hashtag not my Fred.
And that kind of leads to the main problem here. A character like Fred doesn't exactly translate to a long-form style of entertainment like film super gracefully. I mentioned earlier how this movie at times just feels like a YouTube video sketch a la Smosh in the early 10s. And there's truth to that, but it's worth repeating that the sketch videos that this movie at times reminds me of were also just a few minutes long. I think in order to make the character more palatable for a longer period of time, they sort of changed the general energy Fred gives off, and the facts that his voice isn't nearly as high and he's not always at 125% speed are emblematic of that. I mean, I couldn't even imagine a feature film that attempts to replicate the pace and character of a video like Fred Goes Swimming. It would be an abrasive watch for sure.
But even with the attempts to adapt the world of Fred to the big screen, I just think at its core the concept is a hard sell on most audiences. Even kids, frankly.
By the time the Fred TV show came out, I think the Nickelodeon Fred fatigue was too much for anyone to really care about it, but I will say that adapting the character into a serialized 11-minute format is probably an easier sell than a full movie. Though, at the same time, I don't think people like the Annoying Orange TV show that much, so who knows. Remember when Tobuscus was literally on Cartoon Network? That was an era. Most of the best things about the Fred videos were things that come nicely in small bursts, and I think that a full-length movie centered around a character that tries to be faithful to the concept is going to have a hard time bringing in the certified freshes. One thing I will say though is that I feel like this movie made, like, an admirable attempt at being the best it could be. Obviously the lasting appeal of the basic idea of a Fred movie was pretty shallow, but I can't really call this movie as a whole incompetently made. Most of its problems just feel like things that are pretty much there from the start. It's easy to tell that a lot of the actors and people behind the camera are like, shit, a Fred movie? Well, alright then, I guess we can at least have fun with it, or something. Hell, they literally cast John Cena. That was just for fun.
So, yeah, that's the highest accolade I can give the Fred movie. I think they tried. And, well, for me, it was pretty silly and sort of stupid, but it was a fun watch. I'm sure the nostalgia helps, but not so much the nostalgia for this movie in itself. I mean, even at the age of 9, I was watching it like, really? The deer is talking to him? Okay. Frankly, I probably enjoyed watching this more now than I did then. There's undoubtedly a nostalgia I feel when watching this movie, but it's not really for memories with the movie itself. It's more because the film reminds me of the culture that Fred grew out of, and how people like him changed the world of entertainment.
When working on this video, I went through a lot of the Fred channel catalog, and seeing this kid from Nebraska entertain millions with nothing more than a crappy camcorder and a pitch shifter really reminded me of how powerful YouTube and by extension the internet really was. Something like Fred couldn't have existed just 2 or 3 years before Lucas Cruikshank uploaded that first video. YouTube didn't exist yet. Video hosting online was not easy back then. As I said earlier, I started making YouTube videos when I was still a little kid. Fred's channel was a big inspiration for me then, and even now, 15 years later, it still inspires the creator in me. Lucas Cruikshank was a kid posting random comedy videos on a channel he shared with his cousins, and a much younger version of myself would watch people like him and then make my own random comedy videos with my cousins. And as I watched the old Fred videos and my own bits back to back, I noticed a lot of parallels in the style of humor and delivery. Fred the movie, for all of its shortcomings, fascinates me because it feels like a crossroads of 2 very different worlds trying to come together. The exciting new frontier of homemade comedy on the internet and the old dominion of broadcast television. Of course there was some friction. I mean, taking the format of 3 to 5 minute sped up videos and trying to adapt it to an 1.5 hour long movie certainly has its challenges, but to me the film remains a fascinating artifact of the time it came out, and in my case, it was worth rewatching for that alone.
So would I recommend it to people? Only if they're like me and take an interest in stuff like internet culture from 10 to 15 years ago. If you're a weirdo, you might enjoy it the way I did. Otherwise, frankly, you're not missing out on much. With that being said, I don't really want to end this video on a bad note, because although it's not my favorite movie ever, it's a big reminder of how far YouTube has come and how much YouTube changed the world of entertainment. The story of Fred's rise to the top of the internet is an inspiring one, and I think Lucas Cruikshank is a living legend. It's easy to be pessimistic sometimes about how much the internet and mobile devices have changed society and the way we communicate, and there are certainly conversations to be had, but at the same time, I think websites like YouTube brought the ability to entertain millions into the hands of everyone. I mean, hell, that includes me. I've been making videos here since 2008, and although I never ended up on the big screen, or, well, medium screen as they were TV movies, I've still been lucky enough to have made videos seen by millions of people, and I did that without ever having to move to LA or sit on a casting couch or whatever. That's an opportunity I wouldn't have had if I were born 20 years earlier. So, you know what? Hats off to Lucas Cruikshank. Hats off to Nickelodeon. Hats off to John Cena. Hats off to everyone. You know what? God knows we've earned it. Pat yourselves on the back, guys. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it, come on. If you like this video, feel free to check out my review of Lemonade Mouth, a Disney Channel TV movie that came out a few months after the Fred movie. It's different subject matter, but I think it's a cool video, and I was really happy that a lot of people liked it, and its success played a big role in me deciding to make this video. Anyway, peace and love. Keep calm and switch on. I'll see you guys around.